Hello everyone, what's going on? This is EJ and I'm just making a follow-up video for my '07 Honda Civic. I've had her for about 7 years now, and let me tell you, I've enjoyed a good bit of those 7 years, and I plan to keep this car until the wheels fall off, literally. So with that said, I'll show you a little bit of what's been done to it over the past 7 years. And I will start with the most obvious thing, which are the wheels. These are MB7X wheels. They are a 16-inch. And the reason why I went with the 16-inch is because I had 16-inch steel wheels and hubcaps from the factory. I wanted to stay with that size because I thought they were a very good size. But I just got tired of the steel wheels and hubcaps. I thought they just started looking ugly over time. So I decided to actually get some wheels for them. They are a little bit banged up, but they do serve their purpose very well. They look good and they ride good also. With those wheels, I do have some hand-cut tires, and they are the 16-inch also. 205/55, there we go, the camera's focusing. 205/55 tire, and they are a summer performance tire. And these are the V12 Evos, the Ventus V12 Evos. They're a little bit worn now. I've had them on there for about 2.5 years now, and they're still operating like a champ, but I will need to replace them soon. But I will say that as far as for any particular car that I've driven, these Hancocks are the best tires that I've ever had. So when I do replace my tires, I hope to stay with the Hancock brand. They offer good grip. The tire tread life is actually good on them too. They don't overheat that much, especially considering how much I drive as well as how I drive. And overall, I'm very satisfied with them. Now you may notice here too that I do have cross-drilled rotors. They are from Stillen, and technically I didn't need to do this mod, but they do look good in my opinion, and the braking has been a little bit better. So this mod actually is more of a cosmetic than function, but it does have a share of function as well. And if you can see also, I have the ceramic brake pads, but I'm showing just the caliper, which I painted black. It was blue when I last painted them. Now I returned it to black because I think it looks better. It gives it an OEM look, not that super ricey look, and that's the theme that I'm going with right now, is to have everything look as if it came from the factory or close to it. I'm very pleased with the way it turned out, and the brakes do bite good. Eventually I'll need to get those replaced also, but for the lifetime I've had these brakes and things on here, I'm very satisfied with their performance, so I plan on keeping them for as long as I can. Also, on this car, I do have the 35% tint. That's as dark as you can get where I live, which is in Alabama. And the reason why I went with 35% instead of the available 20 is not only because of legality, but also because I got the tint mainly to keep my car from being super hot during the summer. It actually blocks out some of the heat, does very well with it. I still have to crack my windows down during the summer, but it's not near as torturous as before I had the tint, and I think it gives my Honda a nice clean look instead of trying to go too dark. So I'm very satisfied with the tint. Now as you can see here, I do have my OEM drums and shoes still, but the drums I painted black as well. They were blue, but I decided to paint them black again for an OEM look. And I am riding on the stock suspension. I think the car is at a good height for, again, not only how much I drive, but the way I drive sometimes. I could lower it, But I'm kind of iffy about that because of the fact that sometimes I do have to carry other people in my vehicle, and with the added weight, it does scrape over speed bumps even with the factory height. And I just don't even want to go through the hassle of trying to get in and out of a lowered car and help people to get in and out of the car, especially if it's my grandmother. I have to drive her around sometimes, seeing that she's older. She's not able to get in and out of a lowered car. So I decided to leave it stock height for those reasons. Now I did get the 35% tint all around. One other thing that I still have on here also is my Megan Racing catback exhaust. This is just the muffler you're looking at. And let's see if I can crawl under here to where you can also see the Megan Racing rear undercar strut brace. That did firm up my stock suspension and no longer feels like it's going to tip to the side when I take a semi-sharp turn, and I'm very satisfied with the results. As far as the exhaust goes, there's a better picture of the tip and a portion of the muffler. And I'm not sure if you can see under there. If not, I apologize. But this is an actual catback system. It's not an axle back. I actually got the catback because I wanted my little motor to get a little bit more performance out of it. And I did have a race header on here at one time, but it exploded. So I'm rocking just the exhaust right now and a short ram intake, which I'll get to in a moment. As far as the paint, for 7 years, it has lasted a good while. There's some chips here and there's some dents here and there on the car, some scratches. This car is not perfect, but for 7 years plus, I say it has lasted much longer than I expected, especially considering I live so far down south. I was expecting for the paint to be peeling and whatnot by now. And it also helps that I clean and wash this car on a regular basis. And of course I have my OEM lights. I have some Sylvania head bulbs in here, just the brightest ones that I can get my hands on. And I got this not only for looks, but for function, to where I can actually see where I'm going if I have to drive at night. It's much safer for me. And of course I have the OEM Honda grill. Majority of exterior parts on this car, aside from my wheels and tires and my suspension bits, is OEM. And I prefer to keep it that way. It just looks a bit cleaner in my opinion. So yeah, you can see some of the scratches there. That's from, like I said, just wear and tear. But overall, the car is in a very good condition. I'm satisfied with it. Also, if you can see under here, there's also a Megan Racing front undercar strut brace. I got that in addition to the rear one, which I showed earlier, just because of the fact that I wanted to help improve the turn-in feel of this car. And I dare say that with just those two parts, they have done very well for me. Now, is it going to handle like a race car? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm expecting. But for a street car, one that's daily driven, it handles very well in my opinion, and I'm very satisfied. Okay, just popping the hood. Okay. And there is the motor. It is the R18 motor. This is a LX trim Honda Civic. It's not an SI. So it doesn't have the K20 motor. It has the R18.
Verizon Wireless.
And yes, I'm recording this with my camera phone. So if it starts fading in and out and starts saying weird stuff, I apologize. But this motor has close to 171,000 miles. This is the original motor, and it also has the original transmission. That's the OEM catalytic converter. There was a race header there also from Megan Racing, but as I mentioned, it did split and explode on me. So I took it off and I put on the OEM catalytic converter. And I'm very glad I did that because of the fact that this car was very loud when I had the race header on here and not running a catalytic converter. And I also like to add that the highway drone was terrible. But now that I have the OEM cat back on here, or should I say now that I have the OEM catalytic converter reinstalled on here, plus the catback exhaust, which has 2 resonators, it's very quiet on the highway. There is a little bit of drone, but it's not near as loud as it was before. It's actually tolerable. Now, of course, the only other performance modification per se I have here is a K&N short ram intake, and also I deleted the resonator for said intake. I actually like the way this looks as well as how it sounds and performs. And as of now, I've got about, on average, 28 miles to the gallon. And that's with me driving in the city 90% of the time. So I think that's very good. And let's see. Who is this coming up here? Give me just a moment. Okay, probably just some random people. I'm actually at a park right now recording this, so we're good. Okay, back to the video at hand. I also have a Optima yellow top battery, and I also have an amplifier, which I'll show in a bit. This is actually one of the better batteries I could get.
Verizon Wireless.
Sorry. This yellow top batteries perform beyond my expectations, and I really like it because of the fact that it helps power my electronics in the car, which I'll show in a bit. I did have a big audio system in this car, but I sold it. And when I say sold it, I mean I had a giant amp and 2 12-inch woofers in the box. Those I no longer have. I sold them some time ago, probably about 2-3 years ago. But that's it under the hood. And this is the junk in my trunk that I have now. Basically just my car parts. Couple of gym bags. One of them actually is a gym bag, just has a bunch of sport goodies in here. And the other one is the stuff I keep in here for cleaning the car and basic tools, stuff like that. And of course I have some bowling shoes in here. I have an umbrella, tennis rackets. I also have this Audiopipe amplifier. The only thing that it has its purpose for is to power my 6.5s in the car, which you can see here. They're Pioneers. Very loud, but very clear with the way I have my stereo set up. I like this combination because, again, I had it installed to help clear out that drone to where people would call me on the phone and I couldn't hear them over my exhaust system. So I had that amplifier installed to help out with that, and it has. Now that I don't have the exhaust system on here, I just went on ahead and kept it because it added so much clarity to my music. I just figured I didn't want to let a good thing go to waste. I also have this LED dome light here instead of the I also have this LED dome light here as opposed to the regular halogen bulb, and I have them in my license plate as well. Okay, now this is the interior of the car. Okay, for a closer look, as you can see, I have close to 171,000 miles on here. And for all of you Canadian viewers, that's what it is in kilometers. 274, close to 275,000 kilometers. So yes, this car has been driven, and it has been driven a lot. And I dare say again, I'm pretty satisfied with what it's accomplished. And as you can see, I do have a Bluetooth module for my stereo. That's the JVC KW-BTA-100. That's my Bluetooth module, so I can not only stream music if I so choose, but when I get a phone call, I can actually talk to you hands-free. Much safer than holding the phone to my ear or having a earpiece which the battery may or may not last. Excuse me, please. So I'm very satisfied with the way that the quality of it has turned out. Sometimes it won't communicate with my particular phone, but I think it's the phone itself, not the Bluetooth module, because I haven't seen that problem in anybody else's phone that I tested. Now, with that said, I did finally replace my OEM badge that I painted blue. I just went on ahead and pulled it off and got a replacement from Graphics Expressions. It is a JDM steering wheel badge, but I added an overlay to it. I got it with black and silver. I wanted as little chrome as possible. And it gives a factory look. It's not in your face like the JDM badging. And that's the way I prefer to style the car. I think it looks well and it works very well too. So I'm very happy I made that purchase. Now this is my head unit, the JVC KW-R500. Now it does have the onboard MOSFET amplifier, which actually I've taken the load off of it and I'm using the Audiopipe that's in the trunk. And also has dual auxiliary input in the front and in the back. The back one is being used for the Bluetooth, so technically I only have one auxiliary input, and that's for the front. It also can be used with an iPhone or an iPad, and it also can operate Pandora through the iPhone or iPad, and of course it plays WMA files as well as MP3s. It plays CDs. And if you do not have an iPhone or any kind of smartphone, as a matter of fact, you could still input thumb drives into it. That is a small thumb drive I have in there right now, and I have two of them, an 8 gig and a 16 gig, because I have two separate classes of music. But it does work very well. Like I said, sometimes I have issues with it communicating with my phone, but other than that, I like it. It works very well, and I'm very satisfied with the purchase. And everything else in the car is basically OEM. It is an automatic. You can see some blue to where I tried to paint it, but I actually scrubbed it off. It is a 5-speed automatic, which, again, it's not the fastest thing on the planet. It's not a race car. But for what it is, it gets excellent gas mileage, for especially considering that I don't even have a tune on this car. And I don't plan on getting one anytime soon. But it does, it still takes 87 octane. It drives excellent, works fine. I do need to get my AC checked out though, because lately it has not been blowing out cold air. But it does have Freon, so I'll need to see what that's about. But otherwise, this car works great. I'm very satisfied with my purchase. The only things I had to do to it as far as major things was I had to replace the starter and I had to get my thermostat replaced. Other than that, and probably the AC compressor, other than those things, all I've had to do on it was regular maintenance, and that's a good thing, considering that these R18 motors and these 8th generation Hondas, they're known for developing cracks in the engine block, and I pray that it does not happen to me. It has not happened so far, but if it does, I'm prepared. But again, I just hope it does not happen to me, because that will be a pain. And I did add the no smoking sticker. That is probably the only sticker I'll put in this car, is the no smoking. Because I'm a non-smoker and I'm allergic to cigarette smoke, and I don't want that mess in my car. And of course, everything else in here is OEM. The OEM carpet, OEM seats. I try to keep this car as clean as I can. Again, it is not perfect, but for 7 years, I love it. And also the 6.5 speakers on the front shelf as well as the rears. They have the Pioneers, as I mentioned earlier. I forgot the model number, but they will fit with some modifications to the speakers themselves. Excuse me. As far as fluids, I run Royal Purple transmission fluid and oil, and everything else is Honda OEM. That's what I use for my fluids in this vehicle. And that's pretty much it. I've actually spent about 22 minutes talking about this car. I've run out of things to say, but if there's something that I'm missing, just give me a comment, or you can email me at xx1sailorscoutxx@gmail.com. So I really do appreciate you guys watching this video. And for those that do walk around videos of their vehicles, just keep up the creativity. Do your research before you buy any parts. And I can assure you that this hobby will be just as much fun for you as it is for me. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not planning on doing any future modifications to this car except for maintenance. The only other mod I would do, besides a driver mod, which is improving the way I drive, is maybe the Flash Pro. The only thing that scares me about Flash Pro is me having to bump up from 87 to 91 octane. Yeah, that's the only thing that scares me away from it. But other than that, I would definitely get it. And I may consider getting it. Again, it just depends on my pocketbook and how well the car holds up with its OEM, with its factory tune. So that is pretty much it, everyone. I really do appreciate you watching this video, checking out the ride here, and I hope to see you guys on the next video that I eventually decide to make. This is EJ signing out. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.